Longview, Texas sat deep in the piney woods of East Texas, a place where the heat lingered, the soil was rich, and the color line had been drawn long before 1919. But that summer, the year the nation would come to call the Red Summer, those lines did more than divide the town. They ignited it. The spark began with a relationship that white Longview refused to acknowledge. A young black man named Lemuel Walters had been involved in a consensual relationship with a white woman, Ethel Lacey. In East Texas, that truth alone was enough to provoke violence. When the relationship became known, white men seized Walters, beat him, and later transported him to Shreveport, where he was killed. His death was meant to erase the scandal and restore the racial order. But the truth did not stay buried. Samuel L. Jones, a respected black teacher and correspondent for the Chicago Defender, wrote an article explaining what had really happened. He told the truth plainly, that Walters and Lacey had been involved willingly, and that Walters had been beaten because of it. The article traveled back to Longview, and white residents saw it as an unforgivable insult. A black man had dared to expose their lie in a national newspaper. By July 10th, the anger had hardened into a mob. White men drove through black neighborhoods looking for Jones, shouting threats and firing shots. They found him and beat him severely, leaving him bloodied but alive. Word spread quickly through the black community. They knew what usually followed a beating like that. Across the South, mobs had burned black neighborhoods, lynched black men, and terrorized entire communities. Longview's black residents refused to be caught unprepared. The next night, the violence erupted. A white mob gathered again, armed with rifles, shotguns, and torches. They marched toward the home of Dr. Calvin P. Davis, a respected black physician who had helped Jones after the attack. But this time, black residents were ready. Many were veterans of World War I, men who had fought in France and returned home expecting dignity. They took up positions around the house, determined to defend their community. When the mob approached, gunfire broke the silence. The white attackers scattered, shocked that black men dared to defend themselves. Several were wounded. The news spread instantly, and the situation escalated beyond anything Longview had ever seen. By July 11th, hundreds of white men from surrounding towns poured into Longview. They came armed and ready to reclaim control. They set fire to black homes and businesses. Flames consumed the district surrounding Dr. Davis's home. The black newspaper office was burned. The sky glowed orange as smoke rose over the pine trees. Families fled into the woods, carrying children, carrying whatever they could save. Some walked miles in the dark. Others hid in silence, listening to the crackle of burning wood and the shouts of men who believed they were restoring order. The destruction grew so severe that the governor of Texas declared martial law. The first time during the Red Summer that an entire American city was placed under military control. The Texas National Guard arrived, patrolling the streets with rifles and bayonets. They disarmed both black and white residents, though the black community had been defending itself while the mob had been destroying everything in sight. Black residents were rounded up and held in makeshift detention areas, not because they had committed crimes, but because authorities believed their presence alone threatened the peace. The Guard enforced curfews, set up checkpoints, and tried to restore order. But the damage had already been done. Dozens of black homes and businesses were destroyed. Livelihoods were erased. Families were displaced. And yet, despite the devastation, Longview's black community refused to disappear. They rebuilt. They reopened. They endured. The Longview Uprising became one of the defining events of the Red Summer because it revealed a truth the nation could no longer ignore. Black Americans were no longer willing to suffer in silence. They were no longer willing to accept violence as the price of survival. They had fought for democracy abroad and demanded it at home. Longview also exposed the fear that gripped white America in 1919. Fear of black progress, black literacy, black veterans, black journalism, and black truth. The mob had not attacked because of a crime. They attacked because a black man dared to write the truth in a national newspaper. They attacked because Black residents defended themselves. They attacked because the world was changing and they could not stop it. In the aftermath, Longview tried to return to normal, but the memory of those nights never faded. The burned homes, shattered windows, and families who fled into the woods became part of the city's buried history. Yet the truth endured, carried by those who lived it and those who refused to let it fade. They tried to erase it. They tried to silence it, but we are still here, still telling the truth. If this episode challenged what you thought you knew, don't keep it to yourself. Push it forward. Start the conversation they tried to silence. This is Black Justice Untold. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe.